Hi, I'm Martin Perhiniak. Welcome back to the digital art series here on PSD Touch Plus. In this episode we are going to paint a whimsical character. I was planning to have one episode dedicated to this topic, and I chose a character from one of my favorite games. From Assassin's Creed, I chose Ezio. And because the time when I'm recording this tutorial is very close to Christmas, I wanted to create like a celebration or a Christmas theme with Ezio. So that's my whimsical character. And if you learn the proportions to create characters, it is great, but you also need to learn to break the rules of proportions whenever you want to create like funny characters like this one. So I'm going to show you again from start to finish all the steps needed to get to this final stage. So let's get started. As you can see, I keep a reference from the real game. So on the right we can see Ezio, and we can see all the details on his clothes and the weapons, the hidden blades. And on a separate layer on the left side I already started creating my sketch. I have an idea in my head. Before I start I always decide roughly what I'm going to do, but then when I start to create the sketch I start to visualize the real concept. This is just really a simple, loose concept, and obviously I'm going to refine the lines, and then I'm going to block in the colors as usual, and then at the end I'm going to refine all the little details. I don't want to spend too much time on this painting, so it's again going to be a quick one, and obviously the tutorial is a faster version than the original painting, so it took me roughly an hour to paint this, but in this tutorial it will be around 20 minutes altogether. Okay, so I think that is going to be my sketch. I'm just experimenting with the lips, and I will probably keep them till the end. So sometimes I can't really make up my mind about detail, then I just keep it till the end, and when I have everything else on the illustration then I finalize a detail. So we have most of the details now on the illustration. I just need the Santa hat, and I'm going to quickly draw that, and I just use the free transform tool to make the drawing a bit bigger, and I change the opacity, and now on a separate layer I'm going to clean up the lines. So as you can see, I work my way all around the original lines of the sketch. And at this stage, if you use a smaller brush size, maybe another color, then you can make the illustration a bit more photorealistic. Even though we have a caricature, it can be still a bit more realistic, but I wanted to achieve an illustration style, so that's why I'm using a bigger brush size to draw around my character. And I'm just going all around, and sometimes I'm also adjusting some details at this stage, something that I'm not happy with, or if I have a new idea I just added to the whole concept. I'm drawing the hands now. Wasn't happy with the fingers. And again, the hands are funny illustration style. It's nothing close to the real proportions. I'm almost done with the clean version of the lines. I just need to again draw around the center hat. And it's done. I add some more details on the clothes. And I think that's almost the final detail that I wanted to achieve. And it's time to color these illustrations. I'm using again another layer on top, and I'm turned the blend mode of that layer to multiply to be able to paint in the colors and make it look like it's below the actual black lines of my sketch. So I'm using colors from the original image. And this is the color blocking stage. I add all the colors on the same layer. So I try to keep my lines inside the edges, but as I said, it's a quick painting, so I don't want to waste too much time on small details. And I just need the skin color now. That's the last area I need to fill in. And we are done. Now I'm drawing over the layer which I use for the lines. I just locked the transparency and I'm just drawing over those lines, like on the cape, on the hoodie. And this will help me to blend these outlines a little bit more into the illustration. I'm doing the same thing at the bottom. And now most of the lines that I wanted to are blended in. So I don't want to use these black outlines all around the illustration. Where I feel it's too much, I'm just changing the colors. Like even on the Santa hat, it's better to use the white and the red on the outlines. So the outlines colors are fixed now, and I'm just cleaning up some of the edges. I go all around the whole image and I make sure that there is everything cleaned up properly after the coloring. So we are almost at the detailing part, when I will still keep on using the brush tool, but I will also introduce the dodge and the burn tool and the mixer brush tool. I'm just adjusting a bit some details and still cleaning up the edges. And when I'm happy with the details, I check some colors from the original image and I make some modifications, like that red color. Now I created a new layer and I filled it in with gray and I set it to overlay, and then I used dodge and burn on that layer. This is a non-destructive way to use the dodge and burn tool. I recommend to use it sometimes. It's not necessary, but if you want to work non-destructively with these tools, then you should do what I did. So a new layer filled with gray, 50% gray, and then set it to overlay or soft light. So as you can see, I would like to now add the shadows and the highlights to the character. And now I'm drawing on the original image, so I'm adding more stronger shadows. I'm using the brush tool sometimes to add stronger colors. But now I'm again using the dodge tool and the burn tool to add more shadows and highlights. I use it intentionally a bit more loose just to create the fabric or the texture of the clothes. Now I'm drawing the shadow below the character. In this case it was quite easy to create the shadow. I'm just making it darker and I'm blurring it out a bit as well. So this cast shadow is on a separate layer. And now I'm using the mixer brush tool to blend some colors together, especially on Ezio's face. I want to have a nice blend between the skin colors and the shadows. And I'm also using for the drapery, as we've learned it in previous tutorials, just quickly create the impression of folds on the clothes. The mixer brush tool is great for this. I'm just adding some more details, and I'm using the mixer brush and the brush tool. And I still keep referencing from the original image. That's why I have them side by side. Again, I add some decoration. And we are getting there. There's not much left now. I concentrate a bit on the hat and the two hidden blades. to make it look that Ezio is actually knitting, I even add a bit more detail just to emphasize the whole concept. I'm drawing darker details where the character touches the floor, just to make sure it looks like it's on the floor and it's not floating. If you blur out the shadows too much, the cast shadows, then your character always looks like it's floating. It's good to avoid it. So that's why I'm going through the shadows a little bit even further. I'm working now on the stool, and I also create the cast shadow on that. Now I'm adding highlights and shadows on the hands, and I return to the face. First I add some even more detail on the clothes. This nice orange color is good to have. It's good to include it on the illustration. And also the necklace. I don't want to forget these little details. And now it's time to create the lips. Sometimes I need to spend time to come up with the best way to create the lips or anything that is on the face, so it's a facial feature, and it's an expression, so it has to really show what we are talking about, what we want to express with the character. And in this case I just made Ezio smile. So yeah, I'm happy with that mouth, and the details are really close to the final details. I'm just working on the boots now, adding some highlights on that, make it look like it's leather, and using the dodge and the burn tool a bit on them. Again, I work a little bit more on the shadows. And we are almost done. I just add some more details, make it look like the blade is piercing through the Santa hat. Again, just some final touches on the face, adding some more details. And then my only concern with this illustration is the proportions or the shape of the head. When I started, I intentionally wanted to make it bigger than normal size, but I feel it's a bit too big, so I just used the liquify tool and I made it smaller. So before and after you could see, and now it's a bit more in proportion to the body, but still it's a caricature. It's easy to tell that it's not like the original painting. I cropped the image as well. Now I don't need the reference anymore, and I just add some even more fine details to the illustration. But it's almost done. So I'm just fixing up a couple of lines, cleaning up the edges, adding some colors. But other than that, we reached what I wanted to show in this tutorial. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned some new tricks and techniques. And I also hope you will join me next time as well, when we are going to draw or paint a building concept, a castle. So thanks a lot for your attention, and I hope I will see you next time.